Hi, I'm Nick Buick from theonsite-manager.com.au, and today I'm going to show you how to list a rental on our website. We get a lot of managers asking about this. Even if you've listed rentals before, this is a good exercise to go through just to answer any questions that you might have about the process. First of all, we're going to bring up the site. We do that by bringing up a web browser and typing into the address bar. Don't type it into Google itself. Don't type in here, because that actually costs us money, and that makes it more expensive for you to use the site. So if you need to go to the site, go to the address bar at the top and type in theonsite-manager.com.au. From here you can log in if you haven't already. There's a login button in the corner here. Punch in the username and password and that will log you straight into the website. You can tell you're logged in because you'll see your name up in the corner there where it used to say login. Now down here we've got all the different tools that you use on the site. This is your control panel, so everything you do on the site is done from this area here. If we go down to our listing management section, we can advertise a rental. So we give that a click and that loads up a brand new empty rental listing for us to advertise. The first thing it's going to ask you for is the photography. Click on that panel and upload photos directly off your computer, or you can drag them, and we're going to do that right now. So here's a folder full of photography of one of our properties, and you'll notice that all of these image files are all under 2 meg. That's very important. If the images are over 2 meg, the system will not accept them. It'll just spit them back at you. The reason being that we have to resize these for the portals, and if the files are too big, then it uses up a lot of processing power on our server, and that crashes the server and slows down the speed for everyone else. So make sure your images are always less than 2 meg. 1200 by 1600 resolution is just perfect. We've got them here. These are professional photos. We have these professionally taken by the same supplier that we recommend to all of our managers. I always recommend not to use a telephone to take photos. They look terrible. They're normally in the wrong format. They're blurry. The perspectives are wrong. They're just no good. So if you need to professionally market a listing, the best way to do it is with professional photography. You're going to get a far better result. So we dragged all those in one hit. It's uploading them all to the server now. So if we scroll down here, if you want to hire a professional photographer for your photo shoot, just tick that box there. It's $150. Within 24 hours of proceeding, they will give you a call and book in a good time for a photographer to come by. They'll do an 8-image photo shoot, fully retouched, with a 48-hour turnaround. It's a great service. We can go down here to the property details. Now the type of category. So ours is a house. The status is current. Always check the status. If you're editing a listing that's an old listing, sometimes it'll be set to leased. So make sure it's set to current. That means it's available now. And you want to put in your rent per week. This is a numerical field. So in this case, the rent is $1,050 per week. That's a straight up number. Now next to that you'll see we've got the rent view field. This is a field that you can put stuff into if you want. It's optional, you don't have to put anything in there. If you put nothing in there, you'll run on the rent per week field, so it'll just show $1,050 per week. If you do put something in here, it won't show that price, it will show whatever you say instead. So we could say $1,050. Put a $sign in there because it's it'll show verbatim. So if you don't put a $sign, if you don't put a comma, it's just going to look ugly. So you need to format your numbers properly in the rent view field if you're going to use it. So we're going to say per /WK includes utilities. You can put anything you like in there. It's one of the few fields that will actually show in the listing preview. So it's a really valuable field to use, and I recommend putting something in there, any little selling points that you have. If you include free internet, if you get a week's rent for free, anything like that, pop it in that field. That's what it's for. We've got our bond there, that calculates automatically. It's 4 weeks. Our available date is defaulting to the present day. You can change it if you need to. Whether or not pets are allowed, if there's a pool, all that sort of stuff. Fill that out at your leisure. I'm going to say yes for a pool, yes for a spa, no for smoking, yes for furnished. That's really important. If it is a furnished listing, make sure you tick that box. Yes, it's air conditioned. Yes, it has a balcony. Number of bedrooms, pretty self-explanatory. Same with the bathrooms. We got 3, 2 cars. Okay, the address information. So a lot of people, when they're putting units in here, they'll start with the unit number and then they'll put in the street number. Don't do that. Start with the street number. The reason being, this auto-populates off the Australia Post database. If you're putting unit numbers in, Australia Post isn't going to know where it is. So we'll start with the street number. 40 School Street, and then it auto-populates for you. Select that one. That's going to make sure that everything is spelled correctly, that the suburb is spelled correctly, and that the postcode matches the suburb. That's really important. Any little typos that occur in your address will nullify your entire listing and they won't list it. So make sure that you get all that correct, or use the autocomplete, and that's going to do a really good job for you. You can then go back and put a unit number in if you want, like that, if you need to. We will automatically remove that unit number from the listing and put an encoded number in there instead. And the reason we do that is to protect your listing and your owner's privacy from outside agents, because they will actually buy this information from databases that scrape realestate.com, and then they'll have your owner's full name, your owner's home address, your owner's home phone number, and they'll be contacting your owner pretty quickly after you put this ad up, telling them that you're doing a lousy job as a manager, they can do a better job, here's a Form 6, why don't we take over the management for you. I've seen it happen. They'll go through an entire building like that. They'll take every one of your owners that they can get. So by all means, keep this set to no, and that'll keep you nice and safe and make sure that they can't come along and steal your rent roll out from underneath you. Display the address publicly. Yes, I always recommend doing that. Otherwise, you're not going to show up on map view. So always display the address publicly. Never show the unit number to my competitors. That's for your safety. Once we've done that, we're going to go down to our inspection times. Again, always use the calendar for the inspection times. If you start typing random stuff in here, like if you do things like that, that again is going to completely nullify your entire listing. So don't do that. Use the calendar. We want to do an inspection on Saturday, the 4th. We give that a click, and that's going to format that inspection correctly. These are computer read inspection times running on an ISO, so if we start putting in weird stuff, it just nullifies your whole listing and blocks it from going up. So make sure you use that little calendar there. There we go. Select our start time. We're going to start at 4 p.m. We're going to finish at 5 p.m. It's really important you check those AMs and PMs, people. Again, anyone who puts in an AM instead of a PM or vice versa, if your inspection time finishes before it started, it's going to nullify the whole listing and none of your updates will be saved. We'll save them, but they won't go onto realestate.com. So it's really important those inspection times are correct. Always have a little double check of it. Yes, that looks correct. It's 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Particularly when you're working around noon. Remember, midday is 12 p.m. It is not 12 a.m. That is midnight. Okay, we've got that inspection time in there. We're going to put in our ad wording here. It always pays to have a Word document ready to go where you can cut and paste your ad wording straight in there if you want to. We have a lot of hotels at the moment that are wanting to list shorter term leases with us, which is great. We're happy to help. Keep in mind, realestate.com's minimum term for a short term lease is 3 months. So that's 3 months. If you're going to mention a minimum term lease in your ad, make sure you don't say any less than 3 months, or realestate.com's QA department. They're quite aggressive and they will shut that listing down. So 3 months or more is fine. Remember to put in a headline. This is a little trap. It gets me every time as well. It's no biggie if you don't, but otherwise you'll just have add new listing there. If we go down here to these are our campaign upgrades, a feature, highlight or premiere. These prices are for 30 days. Their cost generally is significantly less than the amount of lost rent you would get from not upgrading. So for instance, a standard listing like this for $25 will take approximately 4 weeks to fill from the time it goes up to the time you'll get a signed lease. A featured listing, in our experience, takes 1 week. So you're saving 3 weeks of lost rent there. and it's costing you $162 in this specific suburb. So when you factor in that might be $2,000 worth of lost rent for $160 of expenditure, it's pretty good value. Likewise, you've got your domain upgrades here as well. Obviously they don't have the same sort of market share that realestate.com has. There are brochures here on all of these upgrades explaining what they are. You'll also see a preview of the upgrade when you click on it so that you can ascertain what it's going to look like and what's included in that upgrade by reading this brochure or giving that to your owners so they can make a decision on whether the marketing spend is worth it. Particularly in the case of lease breaks, when a tenant is paying for the rent until a new tenant is found, they're probably going to want to do an upgrade if they understand that it's going to save them a vast amount of lost rent. Contact details, these are hardwired. If you need to change contact details, let me know. Obviously for legal reasons, we can't just allow managers to type any old thing in here as the contact. These people have to be licensed, they have to be part of our agency. So we set the contact details, but if you need to change them, give me a call or shoot me an email and we'll get that sorted out for you right away. When you've entered all your data into the listing, you then go to the bottom here and you can select to save the listing as either active or inactive. Active means it's going to go up onto all of the property portals. Inactive means it's still saved in our system, but we're not going to publish it live. And if it is live, we're going to take it down, but you'll still have access to it should you need to make further changes at a later date. So in this case, we're going to make it active and hit the save button. Always hit the save button once, don't double click it. If you double click it, you're going to end up with duplicate listings and that's going to make your life difficult because the one that gets saved is going to be different to the one that gets paid for. It's complicated. Just single click, it's a web link, it's not an icon. So give it a single click and that's going to save your listing for you. Takes a little while because it's resizing all those images. Again, this is why we don't want the files too big because it would take forever. So it's resizing those photos now. It's putting all the XML together and it's sending it off to the portals. Here's the payment page. You can enter your credit card. That'll pay for any upgrades that are in place. Once that's paid for, that listing will go live. After you save that listing, we'll send that information over to realestate.com and to Domain and to Homely and Homehound and Rent.com and all the other property portals that exist. You're going to get a few messages and emails about that. It's really important that you check them. In particular, check the one from us telling you that the listing was successfully added to realestate.com. Give that a quick read, make sure that it is up on there. It's got a link there that you can check. That's the way to prove that it's on there. If there is any issues with the listing, we'll send you an email telling you there was a problem and the listing was rejected. We're also going to tell you why it was rejected. So again, give that email a quick read. It's going to tell you what the problem is, what you need to fix. If you can't figure that out, give me a call and I'll be happy to talk you through the process as well. We also usually send a text message as well if a listing was rejected. It's a fairly major issue. If a listing's rejected, it's not being advertised. So we'll send a text as well letting you know so that you can get in there and get that fixed and then your listing will go live. So once your listing has saved, it'll also exist up here in your control panel. You can access your current listings by clicking on View, Update My Listings. And that brings up all the listings that you have currently. Now you'll note this ID at the top here, that's the unique identifier of that specific listing. Anytime you need technical support, you have questions relating to a listing, always remember to give me that. And that way we can go through every single transaction that's occurred on that listing, work out what's happened. That ID appears everywhere from our paperwork, our invoicing, all of our error logs, our text messages. It's used everywhere on the site. You can reach any listing by its ID simply by putting it in the address field just like that, pressing enter. That'll take you directly to that listing. You can also access it from the search field up here, again by putting it there and clicking search. That's going to locate that listing on the site as well. There it is right there, and that'll show any listing on the site, whether it's sold, inactive, leased, or current. It doesn't matter. You can bring any listing up if you know the listing ID. Once you've got that listing there and you're logged in, you've got a couple of other functions here that you might want to use. This one here is the print brochure. This will produce a beautiful color 2-page brochure that you can hand out to people when they're doing inspections on the property. It'll have all your contact details on them. It has a map of where the listing is, all the information about the listing and all the photos as well and the specifics. So you can see there's all the data relating to that listing. It's a beautiful 2-page brochure. It's all in color. You can email it. It's a PDF. You can save it and send it to people or print out color copies and hand them out. When you're done with the listing, if you no longer need it, you simply open it up like this and you can set that listing to inactive and save it. That's going to pull that down off all of the different portals. It'll still keep it on our site in case you ever need to use that listing again. We always suggest never to delete any listing permanently because there's always a chance you are going to need it. There could be a QCAT hearing, or for any matter where you need some proof that you had that listing, that it existed. If you've deleted it, it's non-reversible and it's gone forever. So we don't suggest ever deleting listings, just make them inactive and they'll drop down to the bottom there. When a listing's inactive, you've also got some other features here. There's a clone this listing button that's only available on inactive listings. If you need to advertise a new property that's similar to one you already have, you can hit that clone button and that'll make a whole new ad for you ready to go, and then you just make whatever little changes you need to. The reason we don't have that on active listings is because we're not allowed to duplicate listings. So if you have an ad on realestate.com for unit 7 and that listing's getting a couple of weeks old, you're not allowed to just delete it and make a whole new one for unit 7. That's called refresh listing, and they frown upon that. So don't clone listings just to duplicate them. Do it if it's a genuinely new listing and you need to, and it's similar to one you've already got. That's what that function is for. And then we've got delete listing here. If you're absolutely certain you're never going to need it again, and you're sure you want to delete it, you press that, punch it in and type I agree, hit that, and that will permanently and irreversibly delete that listing and everything to do with it. We're not going to do that today because I may need this listing in the future. Remember to like and share this video, and thanks for watching.